Hey guys, today on the podcast, I am talking with Jennifer Broxterman. Jennifer is a registered dietitian and sports nutritionist. And we are actually talking about how to prosper with your mindset and your nutrition. This is not only a fun conversation, it's educational. We even play a few games that I think you're going to enjoy. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for listening. Pull up a chair and buckle up. It's the Original Strength Podcast. So, Jen, you are not only an amazing person, but you're also a dietitian. So I guess my first question would be, why did you want to be a dietitian?
Yeah, that has actually a pretty heightened emotional backstory to it. So when I was 16, my dad had a heart attack playing hockey on the ice. And he wasn't that overweight, truly, but he didn't have the best nutrition habits. And we were called from the hospital and told to come down and say goodbye to our dad because where the blockage actually was in a point called the Widowmaker. And I guess enough blood flow had cut off to his heart that they didn't think they would be able to revive him when he arrived. And they thankfully, paddled him and brought him back to life. But truly thought that was going to be the last day that my dad was here on earth. And I don't know why my brain did this. This is a little bit odd for a 16-year-old. But the first thing I did was how can I support his recovery? So if he is going to pull through, what can I do in my family dynamic, in our kitchen environment to help him be here and be healthy for the long run? And instantly I went to nutrition. I just knew nutrition was connected to disease prevention. I knew it was going to play an important role post, bypass surgery for what, he had to go through. And I chopped up a veggie bucket and stuck that front and center in the fridge. And I think he was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. But when he came home, I was like, Dad, I know you go to work and you drink coffee all day and you don't really eat. And then you just come home and have dinner and have a few bowls of cereal at night. Would you be open to me packing you a lunch? I can pack you a lunch when I make my lunch for high school. What if I packed you a lunch and you brought that to work? And that's really where my fascination for nutrition and health and disease prevention came from, was this really terrible day where I thought I was saying goodbye to my dad in the hospital. Now, thankfully, he pulled through and he's still with us today. And he is a much better eater because of that incident. But very odd beginning to my career as a dietitian now.
No, so I'm a big superhero fan, and that is a true superhero origin story. So,
Oh, thank
wow.
you.
No, that's awesome. So when I first met you, you talked about you wanted to create a diet culture change.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
I love that question. So, one of the things that's a culture to my company that I own is we really believe in the philosophy of not complaining, but be a part of the solution when you see a problem. And so, what we were really noticing is we would have clients come in and work with us who were really confused about nutrition because they were having interactions with well meaning fitness professionals and personal trainers, putting them on really restrictive diets. So, they were told, carbs are bad, you need to go keto, or you need to follow strict paleo, or you need to do da 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 da. And so because there was good intention, there was passionate coaches trying to really help, but it wasn't as individualized to the client as maybe it needed to be. Or what was happening is what I call all about me coaching, where the coach was like, well, I've had a really amazing transformation. This is what I did. This is what worked for me. And it was sort of like thumbs and fingers pointing to themselves. And then I would have a client get dragged into veganism, or dragged into being a meatitarian, or dragged into the Mediterranean diet, or whatever the case may be. And not saying any one of these is a bad way to eat, but it was individuals who were trying to make everyone follow the exact same nutrition approach because that's what they liked or that's what worked for them. And so I realized I could complain about the problem, or I could be an ally and extend my hand and go, I want to actually pull out a chair at the table and invite you to a higher level of coaching. I've learned about motivational interviewing. I've seen the wonder that it does to be more like a mentor, a road trip buddy, a guide, as opposed to a drill sergeant in changing behavior. What can I do as a health coach and registered dietitian and nutrition coach to give you some of these skills so that you can make nutrition not feel so arduous and terrible and awful because it's coming from that place of diet culture good food, bad food. And then I wanted to also strip away shame and judgment when people felt like they were failing because they couldn't follow the diet culture rules. So that led to the creation of my second company, which is a nutrition certification company for fitness professionals and health coaches.
So yes, you have two thriving companies, Nutrition RX and Prosper Nutrition Coaching, right?
Right. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So you mentioned shame and judgment when people fail at diets.
Yeah.
Where does that how has shame become attached with the
Mm.
inability to lose weight or just being overweight? Like I know that's internal from the person. Like how are they attached? Like, and how can you help heal a person overcome or help a person overcome that? I guess is where I'm trying to get to.
That is such an intelligent and great question. And I'm so glad we can dive into that with your audience. So I'm going to use a game to actually help explain my answer, if that's okay. Because one of the things I love to do as a coach is use the skill of gamification to help with behavior change and not make it feel so overwhelming. So this game is called The Three Voices. And not that we're losing our mind and we actually are, hearing different voices in our head, but sometimes it does help to internalize who is in the driver's seat of our mindset. So, voice number one is our inner bully. Voice number two is our curious detective. And voice number three is our wise guide, not wise guy, wise guide. So, thankfully, we can do 2-on-1 and gang up against the inner bully. So, what is the tone of our internal inner bully? It's one that judges, shames, and makes us feel like we're never good enough. We're never there. Even when we accomplish something, it moves the goalposts and has even more, strict and strenuous expectations of us. So it's people who lose weight, but it's not enough weight. It's people doing well in business, but it's not good enough in business. It's that almost falling short and never good enough. And so what the bully does is it sort of creates very black and white dynamics of you succeeded or you failed. And most of the time, the level to succeed is so unattainably high that by default, most people then fall short of the line that the bully has set up and they're in the territory of failing. And so what the bully does is it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel embarrassed. It makes you feel ashamed. It makes you feel not good enough. And there's some really awesome research that's come out in the self-compassion field that shame doesn't actually inspire us to be better. In fact, when we have increased motivation, motivation comes from taking action. So by decreasing the step, think of like building a ladder or a staircase. If every next step is always within reach and we just get into consistent action, that's what actually increases our motivation. Where shame and the bully are like, here's the unattainably high standard, and you should just be there. And if you fall short, it actually squashes motivation because you just feel awful about yourself. So enter voice number two. Voice number two is called the curious detective. This voice, I've given the name to this inquisitive guy that goes around and it has a little notepad and it just likes to write down observations, patterns, and trends. So it does this without assigning a judgment to the observation. So let me give a couple of examples. I notice that when I have a water bottle near me and I drink water all day, I feel great. I have lots of energy. I notice that when I have 2 cups of coffee in the morning instead of one, I get a little bit shaky and jittery come lunchtime. It's just too much caffeine for my body size. I noticed that on Friday, prior to maybe getting one of those meal delivery services like Chef's Plate or Blue Apron or HelloFresh, it was very tempting to order pizza on Friday night because it's been a long week. I deserve it. I don't really have a lot of groceries left. So again, without judging, just noticing patterns. It might be when I'm anxious, I crave chocolate more. This might be, a particular client. So what the detective does is it looks for links and clues. I notice this behavior follows this feeling, this time of day, this social circumstance. And then instead of giving the notepad over back to the bully, which just throws you in a ring and beats you up mentally, instead, if we have the detective give the notepad to our wise guide, we get a much different result. Enter voice number three. Voice number three is our wise guide. What our WISE guide does is it holds our long-term goals in the forefront of its mind, but it helps us take the next positive step forward. It does not expect perfection. It does not need us to be perfect. It just helps us find consistency and based in reality. So I like to think that the WISE guide goes, what's the next healthy choice we can make here that's realistic? I like the phrase, better is better, forward is forward. Maybe it is pizza for dinner on Friday, but you ask them to tag along a garden salad on the pizza menu, or there are baby carrots in the back of your fridge, and you go in the back of your crisper drawer and you add some baby carrots to your plate, and you have 3 slices of pizza instead of the 4th slice of pizza because you were able to use some carrots to displace some of that room. So what the WISE guide does is it still thinks about that healthy version of you want to be, but it's a lot more realistic of what's attainable right here in this moment. And I love for the voice of the WISE guide to stay very focused on the present. All I can do is go one meal, one snack, one day at a time. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, maybe the best I can do is take 3 calming deep breaths here. Maybe I'm not going to meditate for 15 minutes, although that might serve me more. My WISE guide might just go, just take 3 breaths. Just give yourself that little pause and you'll feel that bit better. So what's nice is if you think about the 3 voices, and I'm going to hold up a little resource we'll expand on, all of this comes from the deepest layer of mindset coaching. So when I talk to clients, I talk about not coming at it from diet culture. And so what I'm holding up, or for those that are maybe watching the video version, is I've drawn this iceberg of 5 layers. There's willpower at the very teeny tiny tip of the iceberg, followed by the layer of knowledge or the rules or the instructions of the nutrition coaching style. Then below the water are the 3 invisible layers: our consistent habits, a supportive environment, and our mindset layer, which is our self-identity and our self-talk. So what you'll notice is I actually coach bottom up, and why I jumped into some mindset examples first and foremost, because if we can eliminate shame and judgment and come at it like, I'm kind of curious, what's going on here? That's my detective first. Then going to my WISE guide mindset of what's a realistic positive choice I can make, like right here, right now in the present. Now I'm going to be a lot more consistent. So by having a detective look at the clues without shame, I can get a much more realistic next action step of behavior. Where if I shame myself and give that over to the bully, I'm just left crumpled in a self-defeated pile. And it's really difficult to stay inspired to keep going. Does that, long answer, but does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, it sounds like our inner bully's a jerk, and
it's a huge jerk.
Our curious detective gives us a chance for a jerk interruption.
Exactly. Yeah.
So based off of what you said, though, it sounds like your approach really helps people learn about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're also working with a coach that works with you, it actually helps the coach learn how to learn about the person to help them learn about themselves.
That's exactly it. It's coaching for coaches to level up that skill set. And so one of the things, I'll hold this back up again, and I'll definitely use my words for those that are listening, is we talk to coaches about this idea of the iceberg of success to help a client change their behavior. So again, the 5 layers are willpower at the very top, knowledge is the 2nd layer, habits is the 3rd layer, environment is the 4th layer, and mindset is the 5th layer. What happens in traditional nutrition coaching or those diets that you hear out there, and I'm not at all ragging on any of a style of eating. I think there's many right ways to eat healthy, and a good coach is going to help the client find what feels supportive and positive and sustainable for them in the long run. So I just want to make that clear that I'm not anti-paleo or anti-intermittent fasting or anti-veganism. Like, there's many right ways to eat well depending on the person. But if we look at traditional nutrition coaching that doesn't come from a well-vested guided coach, it's a lot of just what we see above the water. Here are the rules of the diet. Now you have the knowledge. And then I'm going to ask you to apply willpower and follow the rules or the instructions of this way of eating. And I call that the hamster wheel, right? So people research about a way of eating or a diet, and then they try to hang on for dear life with willpower. And I like to joke that willpower is our flaky friend. It RSVPs yes on their reservation card. It plans to come to your wedding or your party. It really has good intentions. but it may or may not show up on the day. And it's just that friend that flakes out over and over and over again. Willpower is a really unreliable tool to change behavior. So what's cool is if we support coaches to learn this model of coaching, and we actually give them some mindset tools. And if you're cool with it, I thought we could actually play some mindset games in a little bit that your listeners can take home and practice themselves. But if we work on mindset and then we help our clients make the healthy choice the easy choice, this is the layer of our environment. So things like, do I have my vegetables cut up front and center in my fridge? Do I have washed fruit ready to grab and go? Maybe I have a pantry shelf that's all dedicated to nutritious snacks. So when my kids are packing a lunch, they can go to that pantry and help themselves. And it's very accessible and portioned and, easy to grab. Do I have my gym bag by the front door, or my lunch packed at nighttime? So in the morning, it's easy to grab and get out the door. So with the environment, we actually divided it into 3 subcategories. So can we make our physical environment the healthy choice, the supportive choice, the easy choice? My fridge, my freezer, my pantry, my home, my work, all of those are those supporting the version of myself I want to be. Our social environment, am I around like-minded people who have normalized these behaviors? And or can I be the little spark plug of influence to support and ripple and role model great choices to those around me? So like, for example, I have a friend right now that's visiting from out of town, and she was like, hey, do you want to meet up? I'd love to go for drinks and dinner. And I said, I would love to see you and catch up. Could I make a suggestion? There's a great spot that we can hike along the river for a couple of hours. It's my favorite spot in the entire city. I know you're not from around here. Would you be down for our meetup to actually be a midday hike as opposed to dinner and drinks, going out in the evening? And she's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I never even thought about that. I would love to go for a hike with you. So it's like, again, I can be that social influence on my environment where I can role model the healthy choice is the easy choice. And then online, are we here listening to podcasts like this to learn and grow and expand our minds? Or are we doomsday scrolling through social media, late at night, or body comparing someone else's body that maybe, have filters or Photoshop, or certainly isn't our genetics? So how are we using our online environment to support us? And so those 2 layers of mindset and environment go and help us be more consistent with our everyday habits, a lot more than trying to influence habits by sticking it out with willpower and learning the rules of the diet. So I have some games I thought we could play today to just show what that might look like, coach to coach, if you're down with that and your audience is interested.
Well, I mean, you've already thrown games out there. Now you can't take them away. So
I know. Okay.
Game on.
Let's do game number 1. Game number 1 is the rainbow game. So this game, I'm going to hold up for those that are watching the video, is there's a rainbow on the top, and then there are a whole different color sections of fruits and veggies. So we have about 110 different fruits and veggies on this resource, where there's red, there's orange, there's yellow, there's green, there's blue, and then there's white, like blue, purple, and white. And so when you think about healthy eating, who here hasn't heard the advice that vegetables and, whole food fruits and veggies are good for us? I think all the camps in nutrition, for the most part, tend to be in agreement that high fiber, high vitamin and mineral, nutrient dense real food, almost all are going to be okay with this. But what happens is people put on blinders when they go to the grocery store and they get the same 8 to 10 fruits and veggies over and over. And so what I did is, this idea came from drug culture. Now, this is going to sound really weird, but let me tell you how I got here. I want to first qualify that I am not a drug expert. I don't speak on, drug addiction, so I don't want to be out of scope. But I was listening to some behavior change research, and I can't even remember where I heard this from. I wish I could credit the original source, but it was talking about the United States and Iceland and how they approached drug culture problems. So what United States did is they increased messaging that drugs are bad, don't do drugs. And they found that increasing the messaging, whether it was accidental or there is a correlation there, but we did see an increase in drug usage. The more that the messaging was more public and prevalent that drugs are bad, don't do drugs, drug use increased. So it's a little bit like saying, don't think of a purple polar bear. What did you just think of? Purple polar bear. Don't eat chocolate cake. All of a sudden, you're thinking about don't have chocolate, don't have gluten, don't have sugar, don't have alcohol. So the don't accidentally pulls our brains into thinking about that more. Now, Iceland's a really interesting example. They actually had a fairly bad drug culture on the island for a number of years. They're just off the coast of Europe.
It's because
And
it's
what
cold.
they is, I know, right? What they're small. What else is there to do? No, there's lots to do. But they hired behavior change experts and they said, this is a real problem. We're taking the problem seriously, but we're not sure where to spend our resources on this issue. And so they talked about this idea of an abundance mentality and displacement. So they said, don't talk about the behavior you want to stop. Start talking about behaviors and actions you want people to do more of. And that will displace some of the behaviors you want less of. So they really funded after school programs for teenagers with, different types of sports, different types of art clubs, drama, musical, musical instruments, chess clubs, debate clubs. And so depending on what you found, interesting as a hobby, you could find like-minded social groups to be engaged in positive activities after school. And then they also funded, I believe, some parenting parenting communication classes to teach parents how to better check in with their kids, how to ask good questions at dinner, just how to keep that parent-child relationship strong through the more, rough teenage years. And so without spending a lot of money and messaging on drugs are bad, don't do drugs, they instead put their messaging into options and abundance of what they wanted society to do more of. So from that idea, that actually gave me the idea to try the Rainbow Challenge. So instead of telling people to eat less sugar and have less potato chips and try to eat out for dinner a little bit less, I started to think about what are things we want them to do more of? Let's come at this from abundance. So there's about 110 different options on here. And like little kids, I have them hang this on their fridge, and each week they check off different things that they've been adding into their meals and snacks. And so it breaks people out of a rut where they're like, oh yeah, I like yellow beans. I can't remember the last time I ever shopped for yellow beans at the grocery store. I'm going to get yellow beans as a side. Ooh, I'm going to make a stir fry and put zucchini and mushrooms and red pepper and broccoli and cauliflower pieces because that's going to hit 5 or 6 options. Okra. What is okra? I've never cooked with okra before. Maybe I'll go on Google and try to find a recipe that uses okra because I don't know what to do with it. And so what was crazy is people were coming back after a month and they're like, Jen, I got to like 76 different things. I never thought I would try as much as you got me to experiment with. And my kids are trying new things and my skin is glowing and I feel better and I'm pooping better. And you know what? I didn't realize this, but I've actually been stress eating a lot less in the evenings. And I haven't thought about chocolate as much around my period. Like, whoa, all these cool changes started to happen. So I like to really approach behavior change with games and this idea of like, again, mindset. Let's add more good. Let's not shame and finger wag the bad. So I don't know. What are your thoughts hearing something like that?
Well, it's I'm a big child, so I keep thinking about South Park. Drugs are bad,
Yeah.
okay, right, okay. But now I'm thinking, eat a carrot, okay, right? So it's just funny. Don't do drugs, no, but eat a carrot.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's brilliant though, because when with your approach though, it is more like an adventure
Yes.
to try something new that you may not otherwise try. I mean, to be honest, you almost lost me at okra, but I give you a pass.
Okay.
That's
And what
just a
I say
hard
is
one.
you're an adult. If there's something on here that you don't truly like, you don't have to gag something back if you don't like it. I just ask that people try it. And if you try it and you don't like it, or you just can't wrap your head around trying it, like for me, eggplant, I would be polite. I would eat it if you served it to me at a dinner party. I've tried it enough times to know I just don't like the texture of eggplant. So I'm cool with that. Eggplant is not a part of my diet. No judgment. Curious detectives like Jen, you've given it a fair shot. You and eggplant just aren't vibing, and that's okay too.
No, but I think and I love how you said come at it from abundance. I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful. I do like the rainbow game. It even made me think that maybe you could have like a a rainbow bingo game. Like if you try so many foods in a
I have a
week,
kid's version. You
you play
literally took
bingo.
it out of my mouth.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
the adult version has 110. It's a kid in you. I love it.
It is a
Yeah,
kid
the
in me. I'm a
adult
big
version
kid.
has about 110. The kid version is a 5x5 bingo square. And so often when I have parents do the adult version, I give them copy of the kids bingo and then, buy a pack of stickers from the dollar store of like dinosaurs or, whatever. And then your child can go put the stickers on the bingo square. And then what we do is we assign a fun family reward that isn't food based to celebrate the completion. So it could be a day at an amusement park or having a sleepover with friends or whatever it might be that would feel fun and interesting and like a joyful experience for the kid. But we're just not being like, hey, you got a Dairy Queen Blizzard and I'm going to bribe you because you ate your vegetables from the bingo game.
So if you're listening at home, you just discovered that Jenny and me is like peas and carrots. That was great. I love it. That's awesome. All right. So was that the second game or did I like totally mess up the second game?
No, I have a couple different ones. Another one, okay, this one is a fan favorite. So for you coaches who are listening, please steal this analogy. I would be so honored if you use this in your own coaching practice. So I call this analogy or game the toothbrush analogy. So I'm going to actually use you, Tim, as my subject. So question for you. Did you brush your teeth yesterday?
I did.
Okay, I did
Yes.
too. Now, I'm going to out myself, and I might be outing you as well. Has there been at least one night in the last year where you went to bed and you were just exhausted and you didn't brush your teeth before you went to sleep? Has that ever happened?
I'm a machine, Jen. The answer is no.
Okay, what about flossing then? I'm going to bring flossing into the equation. Have you gone to bed and not flossed?
Absolutely.
Right? I think we all have.
Does anybody really floss? Anyway.
I know. Every year it's on my resolutions to be better for my dentist.
I try to be smart and I use the floss sticks and they tell me that's not the same thing. And I'm like, well, you're not meeting me halfway here, obviously.
Yeah, right. The idea of better is better, forward is forward. You got to meet your clients where you can get your wins. Okay, so for us mere mortals who occasionally don't brush our teeth, which is pretty infrequent, I want you to think about if tonight you didn't brush your teeth for some reason. How would you problem solve that when you woke up tomorrow? What would you do?
Brush my teeth as soon as I woke up.
You would brush your teeth. Would you call yourself names and just hate yourself all day long that you were the biggest screw up ever for not brushing your teeth?
No.
No. Would you call your dentist in a panic, begging to get in for an emergency teeth cleaning because you made such a huge mistake?
No.
Would not cross your radar. Would you throw your toothbrush in the garbage and go, screw it? Well, since I've blown it, I'm going to go way off the deep end and there's no point in brushing my teeth anymore. Absolutely not. Right? So notice how completely reasonably you handled that. Your mindset goes, not a big deal, right back on track. The soonest opportunity, whether it's the next morning or definitely by the next evening, you brush your teeth. But I want to point out the invisible layer that connects the habit of brushing your teeth and the mindset. It's actually the layer of your environment. So I'm going to wager a $1 million bet right here on this podcast. If I was a toothbrush burglar and I broke into your house and I beelined for your master bath, I'm going to bet $1 million your toothbrush and toothpaste are either right beside the sink or they're in a medicine cabinet. Is that where you keep them?
They are right beside the sink.
I win $1 million. There we go. But notice, imagine every day a little elf broke into your house and moved your toothbrush. One day it stuck it in a box in the basement. Another day it was in an old shoe, in a coat closet. Another day it went out to your garage or your car and it stuck it in the glove box. Another day it planted it in your garden outside. And every night you had to search high and low for your toothbrush. Do you think you would be the same machine that you are and you would brush your teeth with the same consistency if you had to go on a crazy wild goose chase for your toothbrush?
I can tell you I would quit playing Elf on the Shelf. I know that.
Yeah,
that
right?
game would be done.
If there is friction in our environment, it makes it really hard to be consistent with the habit. So what I do is I don't try to coach habits by asking people to have more willpower and here are the clear rules of how to eat healthy. Instead, we start by working on the mindset layer of just I use 3 words: be curious, be kind, be honest. I actually believe in that so much. I have them framed in my office. So that is what clients can see over my head when I work with them. Be curious, be kind, be honest. That's the mindset that starts it all off. Then for the environment, my clients hear me say this all the time. How can we look for ways to make the healthy choice the easier choice? Can we get you, getting a slow cooker, and maybe Sundays is slow cooker Sundays, because you can at least stick 6 portions of the slow cooker meal. Like, it feeds the family dinner on Sunday, and we can get some meals in your freezer for those days you need a lunch and you don't have enough groceries. Cool. Let's make your freezer drawer have a section. So we have a little rule in our house that the bottom left drawer in our freezer can't have ice cream, can't have pizza, doesn't have chicken nuggets. It is our homemade meal section of our freezer. And that is protected turf, where we have these glass containers that anytime we make a healthy homemade meal, we always make a few extra portions. And we just know that the bottom left corner of our freezer always has a grab and go reheatable lunch or dinner when we need it. So that's just an example of the healthy choice being the easy choice. I chop a veggie bucket every Sunday. It takes 5 minutes, but I've anchored it to grocery shopping, and now it's as automatic as wearing a seatbelt. So I would imagine if you got in a vehicle, you wouldn't imagine driving around unbuckled. It's just a reflex. Well, over time, chopping the vegetables every week became a reflex. So now anytime I open my fridge, now vegetables are the first thing that stares me in the face. So what we do as nutrition coaches, and what I do in the certification, is so many coaches have a good knowledge base. They know carbs, they know fats, they know proteins, they know, nutrient dense whole food coaching, but they're just like, I've kind of given my client the info. They're struggling to implement it. What do I do? And so it's not a knowledge problem that our coaches aren't knowledgeable, and they're trying to sort of instill and motivate behavior change by providing more knowledge to their clients. And they're like, please just use willpower. Like, just do what I've asked you to. What we really tried to do is turn it into gamification and motivational interviewing, where we ask more questions and we really learn and get to know the client a lot better. And then we make it fun and engaging, so that the client has, an abundance mentality of changing their behavior, not this like diet culture stuck in a box restriction of like, well, these foods are bad and these foods are no longer, and I can't do this anymore. And it just sucks for the client. And I think for the coach, of like, what else do I tell them to do? I've told them to sleep and drink water and eat their greens and have lots of protein. Now go do it. And then coaches feel frustrated. They're like, I'm not having the impact I wanted being a coach in this industry, because what else am I supposed to do with my client? So that's really where we kind of go and fill that need.
I'm sure you've thought of this, but your business is called Prosper Nutrition Coaching.
Yeah.
But it could be Prosper Life Coaching. I mean, because it's so applicable to more than just nutrition.
It is. We actually kind of joke that there's three, like, we picked the word prosper on purpose because we always thought about 3 end users prospering. The client prospers in their relationship with themselves and food. The coach prospers because they feel like they level up their skills and can be a better coach for their clients. And the business owner, or the coach as a business owner, prospers. They're able to attract a wider audience and keep them around for longer, because they really are meeting people where they're at and truly transforming their life. And what we found in my first business is we have a wait list. Like, I've never paid for advertising. I've never put on a Facebook or Instagram ad. The motivational interviewing and the gamification that we do as coaches speaks for itself. And so it's just word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth, which is so gratifying that our clients feel so heard and nurtured and cared for, and it works for them, that they just tell all their friends and family and do the advertising for us. So we've never had a shortage of clients. And I mean, we're doing like 80 nutrition appointments a week, which when I started my business, I never would have thought we would have grown to that level. But clients love being coached this way. So it's fun to go to work, and I think it's fun for our clients to work with us.
So if someone's at home listening right now and they want to make a change, and they want to start moving better and moving forward, just not just an end user, and they want to learn from you, or learn how to be better or healthier,
Yeah.
where can they go?
I love it. So coaches, clients, really Prosper Nutrition is where we're going to give you that skills. I've had people take it who don't even want to be coaches. They just go through it to learn the games and activities for their own eating. So yeah, our website is prospernc.com. That stands for Prosper Nutrition Coaching. I think if you actually put in prospernutritioncoaching.com, both domains will get you to me. I love to help anyone out there. So just send me an email. It's me that it goes to, and I will write you back. So for coaches that have questions, my biggest passion is holding out a chair at the table and inviting you to join us. So if you send me an email, it's info at prospernc.com. And on Instagram, we're prosper_NC. So any of those will find your way to myself and the certification. And we have an enrollment coming up this May, which is really exciting. So we're taking our next cohort of students and coaches to go through. And then that will close on May 11th. And then our next one will be in September. And then our third enrollment is in January. So at 3 points in the year, we take on coaches and clients to help them with their nutrition and their coaching. And if that interests you, we'd love to work with you.
So if you are a coach and you do have a passion for helping people, I think you definitely need to check out Prosper Nutrition. Jen, I have one more question before you go. And this has been fun, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
One more question is, for a person that wants to be healthy, is it okay to eat peanut butter?
It is. I have peanut butter. So again, let me give you my coaching hat answer. So quick answer is yes. The way I think about food is I think about it on a spectrum, like a sliding scale. We've got green at one end, we've got some yellow in the middle, and we've got red, but red is not bad. Green is, if I'm up in a hot air balloon, green is a nice, flourishing, healthy forest. These are foods that basically are filled with nutrients and are going to constantly lead me towards better health and my long-term goals. They're foods that, make me feel energetic. They support my goals in the gym. They just help me feel healthy and vibrant. So really in the category of green is sort of the nature foods of how foods come from our earth, right? Plants, animals, etc. Yellow foods are usually out of a box or package, but they don't have too much processing to them. So peanut butter, right? Especially natural peanut butter is just crushed up peanuts. Or we start to get a little bit more in that yellowy amber color of like processed peanut butter. We know the ingredient list might have some sugar, may have some added fats, but it's not, it's not too crazy. The red category is what I call a joy food experience or a joy alcohol experience. They're foods or beverages we don't necessarily want them to be every single day, but absolutely can chocolate chip cookies and birthday cake and pizza and a glass of wine, or whatever the case may be a part of a well-balanced diet? Yes, it can. And this is where I take that shame and judgment out. So those are foods that I have with intention, with mindfulness, but just not a part of my every single day kind of overall relationship with food. And then I move on from them, like not brushing my teeth. It is no big deal. It does not wreck the big picture. I do not have to be perfect. I don't actually want the eating disorder of orthorexia, which is like a fixation on perfect eating. I just want to be in my hot air balloon. And from up above, I have mostly green trees with some yellows and red trees mixed in. And long term, that's going to help me feel vibrant and healthy and not lose my sanity to diet culture of like, I'm perfect, or I'm all in, or I'm all out. So you can see I really think about balance in the big picture when I talk about that relationship with healthy eating. So yes, peanut butter is okay, but especially eat the real nuts and seeds first if you can and if you enjoy it.
Do you like peanut butter?
I do like peanut butter. My favorite is peanut butter on celery. I love that as an afternoon snack.
Crunchy or creamy?
Oh, okay. So my default is creamy, but I'm really getting more into like crunchy on once in a while, a piece of like, good Ezekiel brown toast at breakfast. I love the mix of like the crunchiness that way. But if I'm going apple slices and peanut butter or celery and peanut butter, I'm a smooth girl.
Awesome.
How about you?
I love both. Actually, I like all nut butters, but peanut butter, the original, is definitely the OG. And I do like creamy and crunchy depending on how I feel. It's just, I waffle. But nothing is better.
Abundance.
Yes, my go-to of every day, if I could live the rest of my life on, would probably be a fairly green banana with creamy peanut butter on top of
There
each
you
bite.
go. Oh yeah, bananas and peanut butter. I forgot about that combo. That's a good combo too.
Awesome. Jen, this has been so much fun. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And thanks to all the listeners who joined in today.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now get outside and play.